Good evening and happy Monday, everyone. Today we'll be revealing the winners of the second round of the Johto Tournament and the advancement to the Sweet 16 of Johto. Just a little bit of stuff before that. First off, I do want to give thanks to everyone who has participated in this project so far, for everybody who's voted. And you'll find the link to vote for the Sweet 16 at the bottom in the description of the video. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and move on to the reveal. So, one thing that I should mention, the Pokemon who make it into the Sweet 16 are vying for more than just a spot in the next round. The winners of each match in the Sweet 16 are also going to advance to the Pokemon Championship bracket tournament, which will be the top 8 from every region, with the exception of Kalos, which, because of its small numbers, will only be the top 4. But as we're going through the stream, feel free to comment. Let me know what you're thinking, and we will go ahead and get started. So, in the second round, we had Tyranitar versus Ariados, Donphan and Houndoom, Meganium and Noctowl, and Fortress and Umbreon. The way some of these turned out shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, such as Tyranitar plowed through Ariados, Donphan being able to handle Houndoom fairly well. Noctowl and Meganium, that one was a little bit of a surprise, just how dominant Noctowl was. The one that was a big one, and we'll delve more into depth on the matchup itself and the results when we do the championship reveal with me, Colton, and hopefully another guest. But I will just say this was the first time that we had a 50-50 split. And the advancement was determined by running a battle simulation, which Fortress did win the majority of the time that I ran it. The big matchup to keep an eye on, which, by the way, this Sweet 16 will be taking place in the Ruins of Alph, Sprout Tower, at the Lake of Rage, and in the Ice Path. But this key matchup in the Ruins of Alph to keep an eye on is going to be between Tyranitar and Donphan. As you can see, they've got a fairly even spread stats-wise where it counts. Both Tyranitar and Donphan are physical attackers predominantly. And this is going to be a really interesting one, in my opinion. Just because the big difference here is going to be the fact that Donphan, being a ground type, has that strong counter against Tyranitar. But Tyranitar, when I was looking through its attacks, it doesn't really have any physical attacks that can solidly counter Donphan. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. I could see it going either way based on that stat split, and the fact Donphan does have the edge when it comes to typing, but Tyranitar does overall have the better split, or better stats. So we'll see. I'm really interested. I can see this going either way. Which, Colton, don't hate me when I know you either watch this or when you see the results if Tyranitar does get knocked off. Moving on to the Lake of Rage. The ones who were fighting to get into the Lake of Rage was Kingdra, Girafarig, Heracross and Politoed, Ampharos and Xatu, and Mantine and Espeon. The results were as follows. Kingdra was able to just run through Girafarig without any problems whatsoever. Heracross had a fairly simple match with Politoed. Ampharos, unsurprisingly, got through Xatu, and similarly with Espeon and Mantine. Nothing super exciting going on there. There's not really any key matchups, I would say. I feel like they're both fairly evenly matched in both of these matches. Kingdra and Heracross, they don't really have any hard counters for each other. Kingdra does definitely have the stat boost. I'm going to correct my previous statement. It does have one hard counter against Heracross, and that is the Hurricane attack. But Hurricane is also not 100% reliable. So if I had to put money on it, I would put money on Kingdra personally. But again, time will tell. Ampharos and Espeon, I don't expect too much excitement here. Ampharos is the best electric type attacker in Johto, barring Raikou. But Espeon does have the ability to learn Dig, and unlike its counterpart in Umbreon, Espeon is more of an attacker than a defender. So my personal predictions, I'll just throw them out there. I'm guessing it's going to be Kingdra and Espeon who advance. Moving on to the Sprout Tower. We had Crobat and Delibird, Blossom and Scizor, Shuckle and Miltank, and Lantern and Typhlosion. So the results, Crobat got through Delibird fairly easily. Scizor absolutely wrecked Blossom. Miltank and Shuckle, that was another one. It was fairly close, and I look forward to talking about it with Colton when we do the when me and Colton do the championship reveal. I mean, this was one. It was back and forth pretty much over the voting process, and then Lantern pulled the upset over Typhlosion, which I was kind of surprised by, but I'll talk about that with Colton as well, going into more detail there. Between Crobat and Scizor, though, that one is definitely a big matchup to look at. Crobat does have better overall stats. The problem is it's not where it counts. And any of Crobat's attacks that would have given an edge over Scizor when it was Scyther are gone. I mean, it's poison type attacking, does next to nothing against Bug and Steel. Crobat could have had flying to its advantage, but due to the steel type addition to Scizor, flying is not a nil factor now. And it has low attack stats. It's all of its stats are in its speed, basically. Well, I shouldn't say they're low. They're still respectable. But compared to Scizor, its attack stats just aren't there. Whereas Scizor has that 130 base attack. I'm interested to see where this one goes. I would have to guess Scizor, but again, we'll ultimately see what the voting says. And I look forward to seeing it. And then between Lantern and Roll Tank, that's all I can think of with Miltank is rolling freaking Whitney's roll out. Lantern and Miltank, that I don't think is really any sort of competition, just because Miltank, it's probably just going to roll through Lantern. No pun intended. And then the final section of the bracket in the Johto region is going to take place on the ice path. And it's going to get into it. It was between Blissey, Hitmontop, Slowking, and Ursaring, Steelix and Octillery, and Skarmory and Feraligatr. And the results, Hitmontop knocked off our first number 1 seed to be eliminated. I thought about mentioning this last week and I forgot. If anything was going to knock out Blissey, it was going to be the lone fighting type in the Johto bracket. And go figure, Blissey's first matchup, it comes across Hitmontop. Slowking and Ursaring, it was another one that I had to run a simulation to ultimately determine the winner. It was a 50-50 split in the voting. And the simulation did give it to Slowking. Steelix and Octillery, I can't say I'm surprised there. And then Feraligatr and Skarmory, same situation. I can't say I'm surprised. Feraligatr just has the base stats to handle Octillery. As far as my thoughts on these upcoming matches, I think it's fairly simple, honestly. I think it's going to go pretty, what's the word? It will be very one-sided, I feel like, in both sections, with Slowking being a psychic type over Hitmontop's fighting, and then Feraligatr, with it being water v water, no blatant advantages on either side. It's going to come down to base stats, and Feraligatr just absolutely outclasses Octillery in every way, shape, or form, as far as the base stats go. So that is the Sweet 16 for Johto. Again, the link for voting is going to be at the bottom in the description. Voting for the Sweet 16 is going to end at 5 o'clock Mountain Time on the 19th of May, which is, I believe, Friday. Did I say 19th? I meant the 15th of May. I apologize. I was looking at the wrong thing. Voting will end on the 15th of May, which is Friday at 5 o'clock. So get those votes in. And like I said, the winner of these matches have a guaranteed spot in the championship tournament between the 9 regions. So there's something to be said for it. But thank you again for everyone who has been assisting and participating in this project. I want to thank all of you. I can't express my gratitude enough. Without you, there is no project. And I want to thank Colton for his participation as a fellow analyst of the battles. But yeah, so go in, vote for the Sweet 16, and we will see you all on the 15th.